Hello and welcome to the very first episode of DerbyLine. We are streaming live here from Camp TV here in Thunder Bay, Ontario. My name is Boxcar Bethy. I'm here in studio tonight with Patty O'Lantern and Cuttles, both of the Thunder Bay Roller Derby League, and we are really excited for the first show of DerbyLine. So, welcome to DerbyLine, ladies, and welcome to DerbyLine, the rest of the world. This being our first show, I'll give you a little rundown. We're a live-to-air show. We're dedicated to roller derby topics, specifically athleticism, growth in the sport and in the community, highlighting the awesome people and stories that exist in roller derby. And as we are live, you are welcome to interact with us. So you can join in our chat room on camptv.ca. camptv.ca live, or you can give us a call here in our studio. Our number is 807-473-3800. I'll give that again. It's 807-473-3800. And how are you guys feeling tonight?
Awesome.
Yeah, doing pretty good.
Good. Well, why don't you just set us up with a little bit of your derby experience. So both of you are players here in Thunder Bay, and
that's right.
You've both been playing for the travel team for what season is this for you, respectively? Patty O'Lantern?
Number 3.
Number 3? Okay, so 3 seasons deep.
Yeah.
And how about you, Cuttles?
My third season as well.
Third seasons for both of you, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and last year, the travel team had been in place for 3 years here in Thunder Bay, correct?
Yeah.
And last season was the first season of intra-league teams or home teams here in Thunder Bay. And you two are rival captains.
We are.
Okay, rival captains for the second year in a row.
Yes.
Yes, and how is the preseason training going with that?
Really well. We're getting excited. Grizzlies really want to kick butt.
Okay, so we should set it up. The captainship here is Patricia. Patty O'Lantern is the captain of the Grizzly Madams home team, and Cuttles is the captain of the ELLE CAPONES. And we have 2 home teams here in Thunder Bay. I also belong to the league, and it's the second season going in. So, Cuttles, how about your preseason training?
It's going well. I think we're ready for, taking on that challenge again and working really hard for the season as well. So.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, tonight it's an appropriate topic for you two. We're going to talk about rivalry in roller derby. It's a really hard thing to say 10 times fast. Rivalry in roller derby. And in honor of that, we are doing it for the Bay Area versus Rose City game, which took place last night. It's a huge rivalry for those two teams on a national level, on an international level. I mean, it's something that the whole world kind of pays attention to when they play each other. And we've got a guest calling in from the very popular Derby Deeds podcast. We have with us MEGATRON, I believe. MEGATRON, are you there?
Hi there.
Hey, MEGATRON. How are you doing? Very well. How about you?
I'm good.
Good. So you made it back. You made it back home from the game last night.
Yes, I just pulled back into Seattle.
Excellent. So, getting on the radio. Yep. And how was the game? What was the feeling in the audience last night?
It was awesome. There was a ton of. It was a sold-out crowd, so a ton of Rose City fans and a smattering of Bay Area fans here and there. But it was really cool. It was a really fun bout. It was back and forth, but the vibe just inside the hangar was great because everybody was cheering and it was fun.
Yes, and I especially appreciated your sign, which I happened to see on the live stream there, which I think said both of you teams are awesome or something to that effect.
Yes.
Yes, excellent signage. It was. I watched it all on the live stream there, and it was a really intense bout to watch. Coming from that bout, what kind of new things are we taking away from the rivalry of that two teams? Is it going to, do you think, stay as intense given the new sort of universal ranking system? Will they remain as close, do you think?
Absolutely. I think that with the new ranking system, the rivalry will still be there. I think that both of those teams will be fighting for one of the top spots in one of the regionals. Mm-hmm. So, no matter who they play or where they go, they will be competing with each other to try to get one of those, top seed, second seed spots in the regionals.
Right, yeah. It was really intense, and you can just tell how much those two teams have played each other, how much they've learned from each other and adapted to one another when they hit the track. I mean, it's almost like they're ready to go. They know what the other team's doing before the other team knows what they're doing. They almost know them better than they know themselves.
Exactly.
And it was just crazy last night. I did notice a lot, and I don't know if maybe there was discussion in the crowd about this. Rose City seemed to be really taking that front wall as opposed to a back wall setup. And it didn't always seem to be working out for them. Did you have any thoughts on that or something you noticed in the game?
Well, the thing that I noticed was the opposite. I noticed that Bay Area was taking the back a lot.
Right.
And a lot of times to their detriment. They had quite a few power jams where they were insistent on playing passive offense.
Yes.
Even to the point of a Rose City player would come out of the penalty box, rejoin the pack, and instead of catching the goat and keeping the pack back in the back so that they could instantly get that 20 feet call, they would let that team member go up and become the fourth member of the wall that their jammer was then still trying to get through. So there were things like that I could not understand why they were doing that. So in a way, Rose City taking the front worked for them in that respect because they were able to slow down the Bay Area jammer. But I don't know. The double wall thing is still, it's going to be interesting to see how all of that fleshes out as the new rule set, kind of congeals,
right,
I guess.
as it pushes forward and people learn to adapt to it. I know we just played our first bout with a new rule set, and it was pretty much the entire time it was kind of a struggle of figuring out how aggressive could our jammers be, based on the no minor situation, like how much could they push on a wall. And I mean, I guess when you play a team, it's always a question of, what the refs are going to be like and refs' discretion. Do you think that it leaves more open to a ref's discretion in this rule set or less?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it leaves more to the refs because without any minors, if they decide that something has impact, it's an immediate major, and they have to leave, and then you're down a player.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of discussion on the live stream last night about impact assessment and about whether the live stream announcers themselves thought that it was a correct impact assessment or not, which was, I'm sure everybody at home was doing the same exact thing, trying to watch that, and maybe people in the crowd were as well. But I mean, overall, it seems like it's a less paused game with the new rule set. I mean, we had maybe 2 official timeouts last night, which took quite a bit of time, I think. I'm not sure if it was more than that. Was there anything else that you noticed that were repercussions of the new rule set that you think will really make or break teams?
I noticed that there were a lot of things that I saw happen and immediately said, "Where's the call?" And I was sitting behind Chantilly Mace, and she explained to me that, there may not have been impact. So while it looked like it was important to me being in the stands, rooting for one side or the other, the referees decided that it was no impact, so they just kept playing. So in a way, that's good because then you can just keep the game playing and you don't keep sending people to the penalty box, which makes for a worse game in my opinion.
Right. I mean, one thing I thought I noticed about both teams was that they really did have a way of locking it down once they did start to get in a little bit of penalty trouble. There weren't a lot of those strings of bad jams where, like 2 people go to the penalty box and then someone's waiting to go to the penalty box and then, like 6 jams go by and it's just a horrible 6 jams for one team because they're stuck in a revolving door of penalty box. I didn't notice as much of that last night as I have, especially in other Bay Area versus Rose City games or games where it gets really intense like that.
I know both teams seem to kind of lock their penalty troubles down. Like they would get into penalty trouble and then would regroup and prevent that from continuing. So that was very positive on both sides that they are able to make that acknowledgement within their team, within their group, and not keep sending people to the penalty box. Right. But I really think that had Rose City not had as many jammer penalties as they had last night, it would have been even closer than the 30-point game it ended up being.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was probably no question that was a game of power jams. I mean, almost, I was taking notes on the score for each jam, and it seemed like everything else was nickel and dime until you got to a power jam, and especially a jam where there was 2 power jams, where both jammers went to the box. I mean, it seemed to be pretty double-sided for most of the first half and the first part of the second half. And then, I think the last half of the second half, the Jammer penalties just kind of went over the top, maybe. Is that the same thing that you kind of noticed?
Yeah, pretty much. It was, as soon as Rose City got down, it seemed like it just kind of snowballed a little bit with their jammers.
All right. Yeah. And I mean, with these two teams going forward, they're what, 12 and 6 right now. 12. Rose City is ranked 12th, and Bay Area is ranked 6th. Is that correct?
I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, they're not even as close as they typically have. I mean, some history on these teams. They've battled each other at Western Regionals and kicked each other out of Western Regionals, I think 3 years in a row or something like that. So the rivalry is pretty intense for those skaters. And I know it was profiled in the Rose City documentary, Brutal Beauty. It was even documented in that. So it's a pretty well-known rivalry to start out our show with. Any other comments on the game last night? Megatron?
I think that one of the things that I noticed that I'm going to bring up on Derby Deeds this coming week is there was an expulsion in the middle of the game. Demanda Riot got thrown out of the game because she came into the penalty box too hot, and when she sat down, the chairs moved, and one of the penalty box timers was hit by a chair. I don't know how hard. I don't know if there was an injury or anything like that, but she got thrown out of the game because there was an issue with the seating of the penalty box. And that makes me wonder, are there regulations within the WTDA rule set about penalty box, and how that is supposed to be set up and what type of chairs or, all minutia. But I'm very interested to talk to somebody about that because that seemed like a very insignificant thing to throw such an important player out of a game for.
There definitely seemed to be a lot of chat about it online and during the game as well. And I had understood that it was a result of a new documentation that had come out, not specifically the rule set, but new documentation about safety and things like that from the WFTDA. I haven't read that documentation myself, but I mean, I don't know if that documentation does standardize penalty box equipment such as chairs.
Right.
That's a very good point, right? And you're going to be talking about that on Derby Dudes this week.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
we're gonna try to find somebody to talk about it.
Okay.
Who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, because clearly we don't. Well, that's excellent. Okay, and that'll be Friday, Derby Deeds podcast. People can like it on Facebook as if they don't already. Okay, well, thanks so much for talking to us today, Megatron. It was a real treat.
Of course.
And we'll have to send you a Thunder Bay Roller Derby t-shirt because I heard you're collecting.
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll get you one.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having us. All right, so let's come back to you guys.
All right.
Where we left off, second year of the home teams, and it's going pretty well.
Yes.
Season has started. So let's start with you, Cuttles. This is your second year captaining.
Yes.
How is it different than the first year?
I think we're trying to be a little bit more organized with responsibilities and who's taking on what role in the team. When we first split the teams, it was really, we were figuring it out and trying to, I think the captains took on a little bit too much, so we're trying to spread that out a little bit more and really find ourselves as a team and use our entire team's strengths. So,
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And going into it the first year, it was your first year captaining a team. Mm-hmm. This is your third year playing. So
yes.
It was your second year and you took on the captainship. What was it like what was different than you expected about being the captain of a team? You said you took on a little bit too much.
That's a tough question.
I mean, on a personal level, it forced you to grow probably a little bit out of your comfort zone? I mean, captaining usually does it. I find at least you have to dig a little deeper than you think you're going to. You think you can kind of control things and put on a face and be strong, but often being the captain of a team has many more demands than you think it's going to, and it really does force you to be honest with a team, to force a team to team build. Are those the same kinds of experiences?
Yeah, I think naturally I'm a more quiet person, and I really had to push myself in that sense to, be a little bit more assertive and louder and, and make it fun all at the same time. And I think you're getting pulled so many different directions that it's hard to wear all those hats at the same time. So it was definitely challenging personally, and just my nature is more quiet than some people. So
for sure, yeah. And communication can be difficult. I mean, do you find you have to communicate a lot more than you thought you were going to? You put a message out one place, and then half the people see it, and you have to use all these kinds of crazy means of communicating with people just to get, the message out to the whole team. Do you find that's...
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot more time on my phone and on my computer than I ever had before. So
the real job of captaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about for you, Patricia? Similar circumstance?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that was a challenge, and again this year will be hopefully be better at it, is during gameplay being the captain. Like when you're actually in a game. Like I love coaching at practices and, organizing the team that way. But being in a game and having to play and focus on all that, but also be the leader during that time. And like the rest of the team is, they're nervous, they're playing a game. So you have to be that person to know when to call a timeout and to know, keep everybody where they need to be and in the headspace they need to be in. And so I think that was the most challenging part. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's fun. I like it.
But it is fun.
Yeah, I'm glad to do it for the second year. So
yeah, that's excellent. And the split, let's talk a little bit about that. So last year, as we mentioned at the beginning, Thunder Bay Roller Derby had a travel team in place for 3 years before this. And last year was the inaugural season of the intra-league teams, or the home teams, which for those of you who aren't aware are just two teams that are designed to play each other within the confines of a league. Everybody's kind of still in the league together, putting things together, but these two home teams split up so that they have somebody to play against on a local level. So how did that split go, and how much, according to your expectations, did it work out?
Well, we had designated within the league 3 people, I think it was, that chose the split of the league members into the 2 teams. And we were all super excited to have it happen. And it was funny when you first saw the teams, because I think I'm not sure what method they used to split people up. And so we get the list and we're all standing there, and the Ells all go to this side and the Grizzlies all go to this side, and we're like, oh my goodness, like just looking at them size-wise, you've got the Grizzly Madams are all these tall, huge blocker types.
Stocky bunch.
And then the El Capones are all these little wily jammer types. And like I think that happened, just accidentally with whatever plan they had of splitting it up, but it was pretty interesting and pretty cool. I like it.
And do you feel like people kind of stepped outside those roles? I guess my question is, so you've got a bunch of stocky people on one team and a bunch of tiny jammers on another team.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people explored the jammer role because there was the absence of jammers on the team? Or do you feel like it was kind of people that were assigned to did it, or kind of spread the wealth? Or
Yeah, I think we kind of went with maybe people who like to do it in practice but didn't really do it on the travel team. And so now on their home team, it was their chance to kind of jump up and go, okay, yeah, you know what, we're going to make jammers now. We've got all these stocky blockers. They want to be jammers sometimes, but never had the opportunity. So yeah, we went with the more experienced people, I think. People who had more game time in the past kind of took the jammer role, because they generally are more aggressive to getting through because they've done it enough times. So yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I mean, I guess how much of that, something I'd really like to discuss about home teams is just the rivalry between them. I mean, we are talking about rivalry today. How much is that the will to win against people you know and love and kind of want to crush?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's strong. I think we have a really good time because these are your league friends, and we play together on the travel team. We're buddies, and then and you know the other team so well, like their strengths and weaknesses. So I think you really get a kick out of trying to exploit those weaknesses and see if you can get in there. Whereas when you're meeting a team from out of town that you've never played before, you don't have that same kind of what feels like an advantage, you know. So,
and I mean, from your team's perspective, was the rivalry there? I mean, let's talk about it this way. From the outset, it seems maybe fake to people, like the fact that we would create 2 home teams within one league and then have them pair off against each other. People might think that that's kind of a created rivalry, but I think to anybody within the league, they would probably say that it's not created
totally
at all.
real.
In fact,
Yeah.
the rivalry was almost there right from the beginning. Was that the same sense from the ELLE CAPONES side?
Yeah, we've always scrimmaged and we've always sort of split each other up so that we can have the opportunity to play. And I don't think that when we're on the track, we're all about playing our best and working together. I think that it's not anything that we could pretend or that we could make up. It feels very real, and just like any travel game, you want to get out there. Yeah,
we want to win. Like we want to play the sport that we love, and we want to win.
Right.
So
right, and I mean the rivalry between the 2 home teams, it got pretty intense last season. Would you say that it outweighed the rivalry of something like a travel team game in Thunder Bay, or would you say it's similar?
I think the home teams, it's more
from a fan's perspective, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like with the fans, they get to see all Thunder Bay people playing in Thunder Bay. So yeah, I think it's probably pretty thrilling for them too, instead of strangers coming from somewhere else. And I don't know. What do you think?
I think I've talked to a few people who said it is definitely more aggressive when we play each other.
Yeah.
We definitely take more chances, and it seems to be a different game when we play each other.
Yeah.
So I would agree that
seems to be a different game. Do you think that's part of it? You just feel more comfortable pushing your own limits when you're playing against someone that you have an intense rivalry with like that?
And I think you're comfortable. You're just so comfortable with the people that you're playing with and against that, you're used to hitting them in practice, and you just kind of know who they are and where they're at and how to get them. So, yeah.
All right, and I just want to take a quick break to say to anyone listening out there that we are live, so if you have something to say about the topic, if you even have a recap of maybe a particularly intense game last night, you should feel welcome to call in. Our number is 807-473-3800. Again, that's 807-473-3800. We also have a chat board on camptv.ca that you can join in. So, so let's just get back to travel team then. So travel team, is there anybody that Thunder Bay, would you say, has a rivalry with regionally? Cuttles?
Yeah. There are a few teams that we do play quite often. We've played Bemidji a few times. I think that the biggest rivalry would be Duluth, just given that how close they are and how often we have played them, and sort of the span of when we started playing them, where we're at and where we're at now, and playing them. We kind of grown together in that way. Yep.
How about you? Would you say
I would have probably said Duluth is our biggest one because they're closest to us. Thunder Bay is kind of far from a lot of stuff, so we don't get a lot of play time because it's so far to get places. So Duluth is the easiest for us to connect with and play. And yeah, from the very beginning when we first played them, and we were just learning the game, and so now each time we've grown and we're trying to learn, so I think that pushes us to really want to kick their butts.
Yeah. So would it be a fair assessment then to say, maybe it's not fair, which personally do you feel, I guess, drives you a little bit more? Like, would you train harder to beat Duluth, or would you train harder to beat the ELLE CAPONES?
Ooh.
Do you feel that any of those rivalries are intense enough to push you forward?
All
right, you think about that. We're going to go to Tanked Girl, who's on the line, and maybe she's got an answer for us. Hi, Tanked Girl.
Hey,
How are you doing, and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, excellent. Good to hear from you. Do you have a question for us, or do you want to talk about rivalries in your own league?
We have a few home teams with rivalries within them. All three of them
Okay.
create rivalry, and it's actually healthier for that rivalry to get better. It's healthier.
A bit of an outlet.
aspect of
Okay, that's good. And how long have you had home teams in your league?
We've had them probably for 3 years.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I have a bad memory.
No problem. And was it a similar situation to what we were just talking about in Thunder Bay, where you had a travel team and then you split into home teams?
Yeah, we actually split into 2 home teams first. And then from there, the next year, we had 3 home teams.
Okay.
And it was couldn't really define each other. We were just everybody knew each other really well. So it was like the first year we had maybe 2 home team games technically. So it really didn't establish rivalry, and it didn't establish the crowd to be taking sides, I guess.
Right. And at this point, though, the rivalry is pretty strong in New Hampshire?
Yeah, for the last 4 years, they've been getting really close. A lot of the games are very close because of how level training is going on.
Right. And I guess this is a question I kind of have for everyone. When you're in a league that has 2 home teams, how hard do you train to beat the other team? And how hard do you train just to be a cohesive, good roller derby team that knows what they're doing? Like, which is kind of the focus on there? Anybody want to field that one, Tanked Girl?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to train just as hard either way, in my opinion. I think
so the focus is really on roller derby.
For travel team in order to make their name known in a division ranking.
Right. Okay. So in that case, travel team is kind of the hierarchical level there, and people are kind of playing on home teams for the fans, and then travel team is kind of where they push themselves a bit more. Would you say?
I would have to say so. They're coming into a game where they don't know every single person on that other opposing team. So
right.
You have to expect the worst and train for the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'm always curious about, too. Is it more intimidating for you to face a stranger or to face, the person that you were just having drinks with last night? On the line there.
Certainly for strangers.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, I find it goes back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, strangers are more intimidating.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
No?
I see a line of grizzlies in front of me, and that's pretty
Yeah, often. I mean, for me personally, I know I often can talk myself out of, I'll be behind someone who I know is really good, and I'll be like, you kind of start to wane a little bit. Well, that's awesome, Tanked Girl. So on your travel team, who are your local rivals out there?
Well, we're in New England area, so it's really tiny. So it can go in many different ways.
Right, because you've got about 60 leagues within an hour distance of you.
Everyone is like a 30-minute drive or an hour drive.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
It's a good thing around the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. And, I mean, is there anybody who you're training to beat this season or you've got an upcoming game against that you really are kind of focusing on for now?
Actually, Redu is coming up next weekend, Redu Valley Vixens.
Oh, excellent.
Ottawa. Yeah, and they were just at there was a tournament last weekend that they were at.
Yeah, the Quad City Chaos there
in place.
Yeah, the Quad City Chaos in Toronto, I think.
That's it.
Yeah. Them in Ohio took that one. I mean, they're on fire, those crazy people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's excellent. So you guys are playing Rideau. They're a good group of ladies. They're really solid and also very fun. So that should be a really good game, because as are you guys.
Yeah, we're training to hopefully stay where we're at.
That's right. So, are you guys have any big season goals this year other than beating Canada?
We have division tournaments coming up in September that were just released.
Okay, yeah.
But we have to go through Maine and Carolina.
Oh, no big deal.
Yeah, no, NBD.
Yeah. All right. So, are you guys have games scheduled against Maine and Carolina then?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
In June and I think July.
Okay. Those will be good games to pay attention to then. And that Maine versus Suburbia game last night. Did you hear anything about that?
I heard it was a 1-point game at the end.
I heard
And
2
actually,
points.
Maine was behind for most of the second half.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard any updates on it. I just got the score, and I was hoping to maybe get a recap of it. But
Yeah,
not
for
sure
the
if that's
most part, they were behind, and I guess they picked it up in the absolute last minutes of the game.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for calling, and yeah, it's our first episode here, so I'm so excited that we got a
This is
caller.
really cool.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Awesome. So, yeah, so let's talk about what's on tap then for the Babes of Thunder this season. Do you want to field that one, Cuttles?
Sure. We have a pretty exciting and new season. We're trying to play some teams that we haven't necessarily played as often or change things up a little bit. So we've recently played Winnipeg. And we're going to play them again at the end of our season.
Okay. Talk about that game a little bit, if you would.
That was an interesting game. Like you were talking about earlier, it was our first bout with the new rules. So I think we spent most of the first half just feeling it out. I think we were down by about 90 points at the second half. And then I'm not sure what happened, but we got a hang of things. We brought it up to, I think, within a 20-point margin. So it was what could have been, a pretty big loss. We were able to get through that and really adapt to the new rules. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so no idea really what happened in the second half then?
I think we all just started working together a little bit differently, and we were pushing the rules a little bit more, understanding what we could do and what we couldn't do. We trusted each other a little bit more.
And generally we do tend to be a real come-together type team in the second half. So that's no surprise that we did that again there.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of our team challenge, I think, is to come out kicking right from the first jam.
And I mean, overcoming 90 points is not exactly a second half team. I mean, that's a little bit insane, actually.
It was amazing.
Maybe a few strokes of luck in there, as well as heavy power jam game kind of thing happening there in the second half.
Yeah. I think it was the first 10 minutes that we picked up about 60 points, so that was
Yeah,
pretty incredible.
that's true.
Okay, so what's the next game the Babes of Thunder are playing then?
We're heading to Bemidji.
Okay. Bemidji, Minnesota.
Right.
Which to play the Babe City Rollers for anyone that might not be
right.
familiar.
On April 20th,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Excellent. And then after that,
Then we'll start our season at home.
Okay.
So we have Bemidji coming on May 11th.
okay. So Babe City Rollers
yes.
twice in a row.
Right. So we'll get 2 chances at that.
And is that something that's developing into a bit of a rivalry here with Thunder Bay?
I think so.
I think and a friendly one.
Yeah.
I think we really get along well with them. On the track, it's respectful and it's fun, and I think it's we push ourselves really hard when we play them too. But I think it's.
And how much do you normally take home from a local game like that? I mean, do you go home with? Would you say you learn more from maybe watching top-level derby, playing local roller derby with your own team? I mean, you obviously learn different things from those, but what kind of, I guess what I'm really getting at is what drives these rivalries? What is the thing that really pushes forward competition and makes these rivalries almost their own entity that kind of supersedes what's going on in the competitiveness? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, I would say. I'm not sure. I guess when you, I don't know, have a lot of fun playing a team and you couple that with your just born desire to win, out comes...
Just born and bred desire to win.
Out comes rivalry.
Yeah.
You made a connection with the team that you like playing, and
Yeah, there's something about that connection there. And I mean, sometimes it's just convenience, like you were saying with Duluth.
Right.
You know, they're the closest team. Sometimes it's happening to meet each other in the Western Finals 3 years in a row, such as Bay Area, Rose City. Or sometimes it's just, you know, that team you just can never beat or something like that. You know? Yeah, how about you, Cuttles? What would you say, like, does it drive you to want to beat Babe City, or does it drive you to want to...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Again, when we first played Babe City, we were a very different team, and it's really interesting to see how things have changed, and how they've changed as well. And I think we can really learn a lot from watching ourselves evolve as skaters and as teams, by having those repeat bouts and you know, playing those teams that really challenge you. So.
And I mean, let's talk a little bit about that personal level. So, I mean, obviously within roller derby, most of the time you're seeing the same people in the same league on a weekly basis. So there's obviously going to be interesting dynamics when 40 type A females come together to run a league. And I think every league has its own quirks, but I mean, every organization has its own quirks. It might not be much different from that. How much do you have to, I guess, how easy is it for rivalries to develop within a team itself? And, you know, let's say me versus you, even having maybe a friendly rivalry that pushes forward athleticism, but it's also could be a rivalry that, you know, could be very susceptible to resentment breeding, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, how do you keep it healthy, rivalries, competing against people at practice? Do you find yourself competing against people at practice? Do you find those rivalries going to a personal level?
I think
or maybe even against skaters on another team. You know, maybe you know there's that skater on Babe City, and you're going to go see her, and you're going to have to skate against her. Does that ever kind of occur for you?
Yeah, I guess when we've played, like with Babe City, like a standout jammer, maybe on their team is someone that we talk about on the drive up there, and you kind of get excited and go, all right, this time I'm going to shut her down, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of standout jammers, I think we have a special caller on the line. Hello? Is there someone on the line?
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Who are you, and where are you calling from?
Georgia W. Tush from Montreal.
Hi, Tush.
Hi. I actually don't know what you guys are talking about. I just got into my house.
That's all right. So the topic
to call.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got the message. So the topic today is rivalry in roller derby, which is difficult to say, but and I know that actually almost every time that a game comes up that Montreal is playing, rival seems to come right after it. Windy City, Montreal, people were talking about rivalry developing there. Montreal, Boston seems to always be rivalry. Montreal, Steel City, Montreal, London. I mean, you guys have so many.
I feel like a lot of it, well, except for London, but a lot of it's like hockey rivalries.
Oh, okay. So it's just carryover. Montreal,
Yeah.
Boston.
We're like, well, we might as well make this happen in roller derby too.
Might as well.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the Montreal Windy City game?
Sure.
Okay. So it's always intense when you guys play each
it's
other.
Confusing.
Oh, okay. Well, it's always intense when you guys play Windy City, right?
Yeah, it was. They were ahead, and then we were ahead, and then I think they were ahead, and then I think we were ahead, and then they won in the end. It was a really close game.
Oh, well, that's great. And new rule
Lots
set.
of penalties too.
Oh, okay. So new rule. That was what game was that for you on this new rule set? Like second or third?
Maybe the fifth game, I think.
Oh wow, you guys are busy. Busy little beavers.
Always.
Okay,
busy
awesome.
little beavers.
And you're adapting to it and loving it, or?
Yeah, I think it's less confusing without minors. So
Definitely. Yep.
there's a whole lot less happening.
Right. Yeah.
If anything, I find that we're having problems with the like all the pack rules.
Yeah, pack rules. I guess we almost had the opposite problem in our we've only played one bout with the new rule set, but our jammers seem to have a little bit of trouble kind of figuring out how aggressive to be in the pack. Because I mean, you can be a little bit, you can go at it. Even the head ref at halftime, we were kind of asking him about some calls, and he's like, maybe you're just not being aggressive enough. So
That's the right answer.
yeah. Well, it helped us because we scored a lot more points in the second half. So thank you.
Thank you, ref.
Yeah, it's always good when you get life advice from refs.
I find that we have been getting quite a few jammer penalties, but it's also just kind of, it's weird. I just keep hearing my voice copy everything I say. It's like it's an annoying friend.
Just playing the repeater game.
I know. I'm like, stop copying me. Stop copying me. Self.
All right. So who are you guys playing next, or who are you excited to play this season?
Who are we playing next? What day is it? We just played Muddy River this weekend, which was kind of fun.
They are always fun.
Yeah.
So if I have that correct, you guys
go.
played them on Friday, or the Skids played them, the travel team.
Yeah, Friday.
And then
Sexpos
played. Now we're copying each other. Sexpos played the Lumbersmacks on Saturday night, correct?
Yeah, they played them Saturday, and it was a super exciting game.
Okay, excellent.
I don't remember the score.
I think I saw it online, 20-point spread or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It seemed like a very exciting game. Any new revelations from any of those games?
I don't like slippery floors.
Oh yeah. Okay. So wait, where was that game played?
That was at the Taz.
Oh, at the Taz. Okay. And that floor's slippery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Some days it's slippery, some days it's grippy.
Oh yeah, mystery floor. Okay.
But the next team we play is River City next weekend.
Okay.
And then we play CN Power probably the weekend after that.
Wow.
Right. Is that the Beast, whenever that is?
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're playing them at the Beast. So that's the Beast of the East
telling
tournament.
me when I'm playing games. And then after that, before we play Toronto, I get to play Bank Trek, which is fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you playing for Team Wolfpack?
Yep, the Wolfpack.
Team Wolfpack. So jealous.
Our first game's against Bionic.
Okay. And that's at what event? For those unfamiliar.
Derby Inc. Invitational.
Derby Inc.
In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, great. Get to go back to Harrisburg.
Yeah. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Chocolate factory.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Tush and I were there together many a year ago.
We all got the tour hat.
Yeah, we got tour hats. Yep, it was fun.
But we get to go to Bay Area soon, which is exciting.
Oh, I feel like that's the start of another new rivalry for Montreal.
Right? We've been trying to make this happen for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
too much gold versus too much neon.
I think the overall summation of that weekend will probably be just too much everything all the time.
I'll probably end up eating too much.
Yeah, probably. It's Bay Area.
Yeah,
it's pretty likely. So, what's the date on that Bay Area game?
May 11th.
May 11th. Excellent. So that's coming up real fast. And you guys have any other
too much happening in the next month?
And do you guys have any other classic sort of matchups this year that you're looking forward to?
Well, Toronto should be interesting.
Okay, yeah.
They've been working really hard this year, so real hard.
Yeah. No, they've been really lighting it up. And you guys got to play on the same bill in Windy City, right? They played the B team matchup there, and you played the A team, right?
So we got to spy on them beforehand.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. And they got to spy on you as well, so.
Yeah. Equally spying.
Right.
And then we play Philly, Gotham, lots of other teams.
Okay. Are you guys playing at ECDX this year?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that where you're playing Philly and Gotham?
Nope. We're playing Houston and Charm.
Okay.
It really doesn't stop.
Yeah. I think you've named about 20 bouts since you've been on the air.
Yeah,
to play.
And I'm like, I don't really know when they are.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Lots of them.
So I guess, this is something that applies to what we were just talking about. We're kind of talking about, if it drives you to want to beat a certain team or just to be the best team you can be. And in your situation, you have so many bouts that I can't even imagine training to try to beat one particular team. Is it just really about team cohesiveness and just trying to be the best roller derby team you can be at that point?
Yeah, well, for us, our main goal is getting championships.
Okay, yeah.
Like it has been the last few years.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I remember when it was Montreal's goal to make it to regionals, so.
Yeah. But our goal is to make it to championships, but there's always those certain teams that you want to beat even more than the other teams.
Right, yeah. And
like I'm waiting for myself to finish the copying self.
You're like, oh, sorry, go ahead,
I don't
copying
understand
self?
technology.
Yeah. And who are some of those teams? Are there teams that you guys haven't quite been able to beat yet? Because I know that there's some of those teams for the girls here in studio.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Who are we playing again? It'd be nice beating Philly. That'd be fun.
Yep, that would be fun. Yeah.
Hopefully, if we run into London, we'll beat them.
So is it, how many times have you guys played London now?
3, I think.
3 times. And was it 3-0 for London, or did it go back and forth?
We won the first time, and then they've won the last 2 times.
Oh, okay, right. So if you guys play again, then you could go 2-2, and it'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
it's our turn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Awesome. And I guess for you personally as a skater, are there goals that you have that really push you to want to achieve things? And are those goals competitive with other people or teams or skaters? Or do you really just have that will to win within you? Well, I'm the host of this show. I don't get grilled.
Every year I make new goals for myself, just to keep being, or stop copying me, to always become a better skater, a better player. But when it comes, I don't really have personal goals with other skaters.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's confusing.
But I mean, you must learn, like you learn things from other skaters, right? And I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's not like you're
Learn
trying
from
to
them.
actually beat those other players. It's just that sometimes you learn things from them, and you might pick those
Yeah,
things up.
exactly. You're always trying to become a better skater.
Right, of course, yeah.
It's not like I'm like, oh, bitch. Can I swear on this?
Well, you just did.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I don't know how it works.
I'm not sure. First time for everything.
Sorry.
I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, there's something I'm trying to get at here, and I haven't quite been able to pull it out of people yet, and I'm not really sure what it is I'm trying to say myself. I know the feeling of competing within a team and having other skaters that are better than you at certain things being able to push you, and I also know the feeling of that starting to go a little bit sour. And
Okay.
I wonder how people kind of avoid that, building resentment with people on your team that you're trying to achieve things that they're doing. And I mean, sometimes it just starts to go sour both ways. You know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with skating. Maybe it's just competition within teams for other things. I
think that competition within your team is important, but at the end of the day, team comes first.
Right.
And you're trying to win games. And you're not going to win games if you're all grumpy and
right.
mad because the other one got
mad
more
that your
points.
teammates were good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Damn you, so good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's important to remember that.
Yep. Of course. Yeah. Keep it in perspective. Perspective's always good.
And if you're always trying to be better than each other, it's only going to make your team better.
It will make your team better, but you have to make
As
sure
long
you
as-
keep it in that healthy environment. And I guess,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And I guess maybe just keeping perspective is the answer there.
Yeah. Don't be a douche.
Don't be a douche.
Words to live by.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks so much for putting up with technical difficulties and all, and calling us for the very first episode of DerbyLine, Tush.
No problem. Good luck.
Oh, thanks very much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. So for you guys, have you had that feeling that we were kind of just discussing? And if so, how do you keep it healthy?
I think we do get some of that, and I think as we're growing and learning as a team, we're figuring that out. So I don't know if we have sort of a set answer.
I mean, I guess not maybe on a team level. I guess what I'm getting at here is rivalry can exist on several levels. I mean, we've got the rivalries that we all watch, like we were talking about earlier, or at least that all of us in the Derby world kind of watch. So, everybody's paying attention to Rose City versus Bay Area, and that's a huge rivalry. Everybody's paying attention to, at least a couple of years ago, everybody was paying attention to Gotham versus Philly when that was going back and forth a little bit. And, those are the kind of rivalries that kind of spark the excitement of the Derby world. And then you've got rivalries that are local. So you've got, Thunder Bay versus Duluth. And you've got Thunder Bay versus Bay Area. You've got Montreal versus, all of the people that people say they're rivals with. And you've got ELLE, who, won best rivalry 3 years in a row on DNN versus different people. So you've got those kinds of things that there's different levels of rivalry there. Then you've got rivalry within home teams that maybe not much of the world pays attention to, but it is really intense for the fans in those situations. And that kind of speaks to the way that roller derby is set up in a league level organization. And then you've got kind of a rivalry that exists within those home teams, kind of competing against each other. So I guess which of these rivalries would you say that brings out the competitive spirit in you? Do you think it's one of those that really captures your will to win, or is it just a combination of all three, or just the game of roller derby being the freak show that it is?
I think it's all of that. Yeah. I think it's the game. I think it's and I like what Tush said about, like, you're competing within your, like, with your teammates, like, to make you better. Like, someone's really good at something and a skill, and you want to get that, and so their greatness at it drives you. But at the end of the day, it's the team as a whole that, then you want to go beat somebody else. So they all kind of go together. And I think a healthy team, it's just that fine line, compete with each other, but
right
at the end of the day, you're a team.
Right. For you?
Yeah. I think it helps to acknowledge that fine line, too, that if maybe, because I think we've all felt things go sour, that if that acknowledging that to myself, that's not really healthy, and kind of talking about it and talking to that person can really get down to the bottom of maybe where some of those feelings are coming from.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to digging deep, like we were saying before with captaining. I mean, I think it's part of being on a team is really being able to dig deep and just tell your team what you're feeling, like surface those any hard feelings that you have, and you can't fake it with real team building, right? Like it's really about letting those competitive urges surface and being honest about them, and just letting it all hang out, I guess.
Yeah. Using it positively.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really excellent. I just have, I guess, one closing thought that I kind of wanted to bring up, and it goes a little bit out on a limb, but it references the study that came out a couple weeks ago. References a piece that came out a couple weeks ago about, it was by a microbiologist who also plays roller derby, and she did a study where she took swabs, skin samples of people's arms from a tournament, people from different teams, and basically they analyzed this data, and I'm not a microbiologist, so I hope I'm not hacking this to bits, but basically the gist of it was they analyzed this data, and they realized patterns in the skin samples that they took amongst teams. And the point that she was trying to make was most people think of bacteria and microbes that live on your skin as bad things, but that actually the microbes that live in your skin are quite necessary to life and good, and are affected by much of the contact that you have. And roller derby players spend quite a bit of time together and happen to also have quite a bit of contact with each other. And these microbes that they were sampling were very similar amongst a team, and even created microbe communities that they're called microbiomes, I believe. And I really thought it was an interesting parallel about, these microbes are sort of individuals and exist in individuals. And as they come together, they might compete with each other a little bit. They might, one might succeed, one might fail, and they might learn things from each other, adapt to one another. And then they form these microbe communities that exist within roller derby players. And at any rate, I've got a video queued up here that I'll show in a minute that really explains it a lot better than I am. But I thought it was an interesting parallel that we'd talked about rivalry rivalry on a number of levels, on top 10 level, national level, regional level, team level, personal level, and then you can even see parallels in sort of the micro world of it. So just wanted to kind of close out the show with that, and I'd really like to thank you guys for coming before we close out, and to thank everybody for listening to the first episode of DerbyLine. We'll be live every Sunday here on camptv.ca, and thanks very much. Let's play the video.
From the time we're born, we're forming a unique self, one that is ours alone, distinguishing us from the masses. We call this our identity. We're created by our choices, by our dreams, and by our character. We wear certain clothes, live in certain places, we choose certain professions, and we forge relationships with certain other individuals. Some of us may even join movements that reflect who we are or what we aspire to be. Roller derby is one such movement, shaping the identities of thousands of women. We might think this new identity comes from a sense of camaraderie, or from the subculture they're building, or simply from their shared excitement over the sport.
But could it be a result of something we're not seeing? When we move down to a smaller dimension, we see a very different reality. We have 1 trillion human cells that make us who we are, but each one of us carries 10 times more microbial cells. These microbes are not passive riders. They do all sorts of amazing things. Many of them even keep us alive. Think about it for a moment. 90% of what you think of as you is actually microbes. It's widely accepted in the scientific community that our microbial cells may be more personally identifying than our human cells. Yet, you're exchanging microbes all the time with everyone you come into contact with. If your microbes define your identity more than the cells that make you human, could the transformation in identity these women are experiencing be due to the microbes they're sharing? Are we really distinct individuals? Or are we just part of a vast, overlapping cloud of microbes?
Is there such a thing as individuality? Or are we actually all one?